think I'm live now. Yes, I am. It is Tuesday today, Tuesday afternoon, the 31st of May, the last day of May 2022. And I have been reading in Harry Edwards' book, Life in Spirit. This is about the afterlife. And in fact, this is now section 2 of the book, which is sort of finished with his account of the afterlife. And chapter 21, which I just started yesterday, is Thoughts on Physical Mediumship. And I finished on page 180, where he was explaining speech, and I finished, and I've just seen it is not very long until the end of chapter 21. So I continue in the sentence before, so that it makes sense what he is explaining here on his thoughts on physical mediumship. Speech is a feature with some materialization, and there is no doubt it does proceed from the form, and it is not an outside experience. To produce any physical sound, there must be the correct apparatus to create the special and particularized sound vibrations, which travel to the tympanum for transmission via the brain to the consciousness. It is simpler to suggest the mechanics of speech originate within the materialized person, i.e. breath, vocal cords, tongue, teeth, lips, etc. The act of speech includes the intelligent use of all the aids to produce the simple sound of ah, and a different employment of them for la, or ha, etc. The substance of the form to produce speech needs to be controlled and directed by an intelligence to act in precisely a similar way to the human voice-producing mechanism. So it is logical to assume that the substance is akin to human material, i.e. the vocal cords, lungs, tongue, etc. If this is so, there is reason to assume the composition of the substance is cellular. Can it be constructed of another substance, ectoplasm for example, such as a pair of ectoplasmic rubber balloons for the lungs, which are depressed just sufficiently to supply the explosive of air with the sounds of p, b, t, d. It could be argued that the taut strings of ectoplasm could be stretched like violin strings to produce sound, if they were correctly strung. Then the controlling intelligence could produce the given sounds of speech. Earlier on I mentioned such a premise could be considered as far-fetched. I suggest any alternative to the substance of the materialized form being other than cellular, an exact replica of the spirit's person's organ in the earth life, would be still more so. It would be more tenable to suggest that the form does not speak at all, but it is the medium's voice-producing mechanisms which is used, and the sounds are carried so as to appear coming from the medium's mouth. Suffice it that everyone who has heard speech from a spirit form knows that it has emanated from the mouth of the spirit form. It is further suggested that the substance of the form is cellular for the following reasons. An organ can only be operated by the particular character of cells in which it is comprised. The nature, temperature, nourishment, and purpose of the cells of one organ are different from those of another, and it is only through the purpose of the cells being fulfilled that an organ can function. The purpose and mechanical performance of the cells of the lung are very different from the muscle cells of the tongue, and totally different from the cells of the vocal cords. So it does appear that the substance of the organs of a materialized being must be particularized for the service it has to perform. We have to remember that a cell is a living, complete unit. It needs to breathe, take in nourishment, exude waste, has a purpose to perform, is subject to intelligence and control. It possesses communication with the pituitary gland and the mind of a cell can become insane, as with a cancer cell. It is able to reproduce itself, duplicating all its properties and personality, and needs a special prepared protein for its nourishment. It is questionable whether all the needs of a human cell exists in a materialized one, for it should not need the protein and all the metabolic performances which have been necessary to program the protein RNA molecules. The main question worth asking is the substance of the materialized person akin to the spirit body, or akin to both the spirit and the human self? As the materialized substance comes from spirit and returns to its spirit origin, does not the probability arise that the materialized substance is the same as or similar to the substance of spirit people? Some further thoughts on this are in the addendum. All this may seem hypothetical, but the closer one studies this subject, the more amazing does the picture become, and adds to our wonderment as the knowledge possessed by the spirit guides and the potentials within spirit science. Everyone will agree that all matter is form of characterized energy. This must apply to the substance of a materialization. The manipulation of energies is chemistry. All science is based upon knowledge of energy manipulation. Spirit phenomena, whether in physical or spirit form, is characterized energy. Every healing of an organic nature results from a chemical change, brought about by a remedial energy formation being directed at the molecular state, causing the affliction. This is just what medicine performs in inducing an ordered chemical change by introducing a new molecular energy factor, medicine or ray therapy, to bring about a foreseeable change. Finally, two observations may be pertinent. A. As human wisdom has advanced to the high level of analyzing and appreciating the analysis of molecular energies and atomic potentials, so we can credit the spirit intelligences with knowing this and much more. They must be supreme manipulations. They must be supreme manipulators of energy. This is understandable if etheric or primal energy is the clay and stone of the spirit realm. B. The more human science advances, so we are able to glimpse more freely the potentials of spirit science, and from this to gain a greater knowledge of healing, spirit potentials, and communication. Spirit and physical cosmography. Etheric energy, communication between the physical and spirit realms, establishes that there is a medium through which it travels. Energy, sometimes called primary or etheric energy, is the substance and the medium. There is no dividing line between any state of matter, force, or life. Energy and matter. Primal energy, when polarized in a given order, creates matter, i.e. the elemental atoms. Forces. Forces are polarized energies possessing properties which can be conveyed by matter or primal energy. The light and heat from the sun reaches us by this means. Forces are able to influence each other, i.e. electricity and magnetism, heat and cohesion. Thought energies. Each positive thought, object or thought picture has a definite energy formation. As each variation of sound or minute variation of light refraction has its individual recordable vibration, so equally are thought pictures, individual, recordable, and recognizable. For example, the thought picture of a drop of water would be similar in the mind of an Eskimo or a learned professor. Sound, light, and other vibrations are intimately related to force radiation, so it follows that thought structure vibrations can likewise be related. Note: in healing, characterized energies are directed from spirit to produce a predetermined chemical change in the patient's body, or a thought picture vibration to influence the mind. These chemical energies must be the spirit counterpart of the molecular structure needed to bring about the chemical change. They are transformed into their physical state on reaching the patient. Spirit control of energies. Spirit minds are masters of the art of manipulating energies. In apporting the physical energy structure of an object is transformed into a different state, rendering it superior to the physical laws but retaining its identity. It can travel at great distance in a moment of time, without being affected by friction or heat, and it can penetrate substances like walls. It is reproduced in the presence of a medium in its precise original condition. We observe manipulation of energies in a different way with ectoplasm, and the building up of the tangible substance of a materialized person. States of change. With a psychic rod or a materialization, a substance is produced which did not physically exist before. When the psychic rod or materialization is dispersed, it is logical to assume it is transformed back into a non-physical existence, or back to the primal energy. As there is a reason process behind every state of change, it is unrealistic to think that with the dispersal of a psychic rod, etc., the molecules or the atoms comprising the molecules continue to exist without purpose. Therefore, the substances are returned to basic uniform energy. Spirit raw material. This leads us to think that spirit minds are able to create from primal energy the materials used in spirit life for things. May it not be that if spirit objects, dwellings, raiments, and so on are created by thought from primal energy, the substances continue to exist while there is a thought motive to sustain them. This implies that spirit matter does not decay, or as physical matter does, through loss of volition, but may do so as the thought purpose which created it ceases. It is no longer loved or required. As the physical realm is a product of primal energy, then why should not the spirit realm be created from the same source, but in a different way? General conclusion. Thus, perhaps, we can begin to see dimly the manner in which the substance of a materialized entity and its organs are created for the time being by a spirit mind controlling the processes. A substance similar in structure to a human body but without need for sustenance, yet able to function through thought direction. This implies that the spirit body obeys directions for its functioning. Without those requirements, the human structures need to maintain good health, renewal, and cellular reproduction. As all our bodily experiences, comfort, exhilaration, depression, satisfactions, as well as aches and pains, are mind experiences, it follows that the spirit experiences can be more vivid, because there is no physical limitation, and in spirit life, thought energies record feelings and functions, etc. If there is any credence in these comments, it may help us to understand what our spirit bodies may be like after transition. So this is the section 2 of this book, and chapter 22 is entitled A Guide for the Development of Mediumship. So this should be quite interesting. My goodness, it's not finished yet. So the Guide for the Development of Mediumship is very detailed. So I might end up being a medium when I'm finished with it. Because, yeah, it's a good little bit left there to read. Have a good Tuesday. Bye-bye.